Welcome to the Draw Shop's Get Genius podcast, where we talk to today's business influencers to pick their brain and pull out their genius. It's time to get genius.
Well, hello, listeners. Today is a pretty awesome interview. We're going to be talking about your website and your customer experience on your website, your mobile website, and even just viewing your ads if you are actually doing PPC ads and paid traffic. Talking to Chris Dayley of Disruptive Advertising, and he's a digital marketing entrepreneur, and he's got a big passion for helping businesses be successful online. He came about this after spending years driving traffic through SEO and PPC efforts, and then turned his efforts to the user experience of websites to see if he could influence traffic to convert better. Because what good is a good website if you don't have traffic coming to it? And what good is traffic if you don't have a good website to convert them? So after running his first successful test, he fell in love and began focusing on helping businesses test their website experience. He started a company called Conversion Optimization, and it was a full-service agency helping businesses discover what converts on their sites through testing. And then in 2016, he merged that company with Disruptive Advertising, and he is now the vice president of site testing and optimization. At this agency, they offer full A/B testing services and solutions to clients, and they're really focusing on strategy, design, development, and analytics of all of those things, which we discuss in our interview. If you're totally new to A/B testing, if you are a newer entrepreneur, or you just have never done any kind of testing and have had the same website and don't even know how it's converting because you don't have any analytics attached to it, we'll talk about where you can start, and we'll also have a download for you to start as well. We're going to cover a lot of topics, like where businesses are struggling, what they're not even thinking about when it comes to their mobile site, when it comes to their website, their desktop version. There's so many different things that we cover that you may not be thinking about, and even if you have, you're hopefully going to have a little bit of an aha moment going, oh, I didn't even think of that, because I feel like no matter how much we know our business, there's always something new that we're going to learn. There's always going to be that one little thing that's going to help you tweak and make it even better. And Chris is awesome. And it's an incredible interview. I am so excited for you to hear it. And I hope you walk away with those tweaks. Hello, Chris. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, you are going to answer a lot of questions for our audience. So thank you in advance for that. I'm going to go right into it. I think, you have so much genius around getting your website to convert better, how to test different things within your site, how do you get more traffic, marketing, psychology of marketing, so many things. So I want to go into all of that, but I kind of want to cover the basics first if we can, and just kind of talk about what are some of the big problems that you've seen with businesses in terms of their struggles with getting their websites to convert.
Yeah, well, so let me take you back a few years and share with you how I ended up getting into website testing, because I think that is a lot of the struggles that companies have. So I was in-house for a large company, and I was running the digital marketing. So I was doing some SEO, I was doing some PPC. We're driving traffic to our site, and digital marketing was a very small part of what we did. And so I, at first, they actually had no idea what to do with me. I was in the IT department because they were thinking, digital, yeah, I guess that goes in IT. They eventually moved me over to the marketing team where that kind of stuff belongs. And I was involved in a conversation, actually multiple conversations over the course of about a year, where the company was talking about rebranding. So this is a conversation that a lot of big companies have fairly often. rebranding, redesigning the site, all kinds of things, giving our products a facelift, blah blah blah, and so I was in this conversation with the marketing team, with the CEO, and they were discussing what the new site should look like, and I started bringing up, hey, well, you know what? Maybe we should test out a few different approaches, because I've seen different things work that you might not always think would work. It's not always like whatever site looks the best is going to convert the best. And it was very interesting. I brought up this data-driven approach and basically got laughed out of the meeting. The marketing director said, yeah, that's nice, but I think that's really just going to slow us down. I think we just want to move in this really fun, new, creative direction. And the CEO said, I think I already have a good idea of what the brand needs to look like. And of course, when it's that highest paid person in the room throwing in their opinion, everybody listens. And so I pretty much got shut down. So we went through this long process, this big rebrand, big site redesign, launched it, and metrics didn't improve at all. In fact, some metrics decreased once we launched the new site. And everyone, and we had spent, like I said, the better part of a year focusing all of our marketing resources around this new site. Tons of resources, tons of really dollars that we had spent building this thing, and it didn't really work that well. And so I went in after we launched this new site, and I was trying to figure out, well, why isn't this stuff converting? How come these people were getting to the site? How come we're not getting them to buy product or do anything? And that's when I discovered this concept of website testing, of A/B testing. So I took a page on our site that wasn't really working very well, and I created a copy of it, and I changed a few things. Now, mind you, I am not a designer. I had zero design skills at the time.
Yeah.
And so this other version of the page that I created, it didn't look better, but I thought, what the heck? Let's see if we can get any kind of movement at all. And so I launched this new page. It converted, I think, 15% better. And immediately my thought process was, holy crap, this is awesome. And why did this work better?
Yeah.
It didn't look better. It went counter to all the opinions that we had in our company. Why did this seem to work better? And honestly, that question has been what has fueled my passion for this industry. Figuring out, why is it that certain things work for certain people? What is it that makes people convert online? Because it's not the things that most of us would think work best on the internet. So that's the biggest problem that most companies have, is that most companies are not taking a data-driven approach at their website. They're taking an opinion-driven approach or a creative approach, which you need that creative aspect in your company, but the creative aspect needs to be tempered by data. It's great to try new things if what you're doing is trying new things and not making a bunch of assumptions and just doing it.
Exactly. So what are some of the things that you discovered that actually influenced the audience behavior once they visit a site? Because like you said, It wasn't just like, wait a minute, this doesn't even look better. What were the things that were working or that you found?
Yeah. So on that particular site, there was a few things, and over the last, so I've been doing this now for about 7 years. And in the last 7 years, I've probably run thousands of A/B tests on websites. And so, the things that I learned there fit into a 6-category approach that I've developed over the last 7 years. And so these 6 categories are typically the 6 biggest influencers on conversion rates. And so on this particular page, there's a couple big things. One of the 6 categories is value proposition. So how do you communicate the value that you are offering to users? So value proposition is one that companies can just drone on and on and on about all day long. Our product's the best. Our products can do this. Our products help people with this. And people would be crazy to not use our product. But nobody tries your product. and usually the reason is you're not communicating the value proposition in the right way to the audience. Because you can say the same thing 4 different ways. So like, for example, one of the products that we sold at this company I was at was, I will call it a glucose management product. So It helps the body regulate glucose levels. So you can either, but it also, because it helps your body regulate glucose levels, it also helps you lose weight, and it helps you manage your sugar intake. There's a lot of different things that this product did, and we just made a bunch of assumptions that people want to hear all of that.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we tried was, okay, is there one of these value propositions that will resonate with people better than others? Because when you throw a ton of information at people get information overload. They get this cognitive overload, and they almost can't even process everything that you're telling them.
Right.
And so I reduced down these value propositions and tried one version of the page where we just focused on weight loss, one version of the page where we just focused on glucose management, one version of the page where we focused on calorie intake, just to figure out, okay, which one of these pain points is really going to resonate with people? And that had a huge impact. Another one of the categories that typically has a really high impact on conversion rates is your call to action. So the way that I like to think about it is, what are you telling people to do? How clearly is that communicated? And does it draw attention? So I think about this in terms of a 2 to 3 second rule. So people have a very short attention span online. And if people can't tell when they come to your page, if they can't tell within 2 to 3 seconds what they're supposed to do, so click on a button, fill out a form, add a product to the cart, whatever it is, if they can't see that call to action within 2 to 3 seconds, a lot of people are either going to leave or they'll start to feel anxiety.
Yeah.
Going back to some of this psychology aspect, people don't like to feel stupid, and people don't like to feel like it's a lot of work to do what they're supposed to do. And so even if people need to read a lot of information before they add your product to the cart, or even if they need to understand a bunch of stuff before they fill out your form, it's still important that they see that. So because it relieves some anxiety, so they go, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. Now I can do my thing and figure out whether or not I want to do it. So those were the two biggest things when it came to this particular website that I was working on at the time. And again, I didn't have any kind of principles at the time. I was just trying stuff.
Yeah.
And ended up nailing those two areas. And so, yeah, it's important to really look at. And when I work with my clients, I recommend that every time you run a test, there is a business question, something that you're trying to learn about your audience from that test. So, for example, we talked about value propositions. Instead of saying, because a lot of companies will say, okay, well, I think that the weight loss aspect is going to be the best. So here's our business question. Is weight loss the right approach for our audience? Now, the problem with that kind of a question is you're already assuming that you're right.
Yeah.
You're saying, is weight loss the best approach? I think yes. And so what I try to do with my clients is I try to have them take a step back and test some kind of a very objective, open-ended question. So instead of, is weight loss the best approach, we test, what is the best value proposition for our audience? All right? Because when you ask, what's the best value proposition for our audience, there could be a lot of answers.
Yeah.
When it's a yes or no question, you're really kind of pinning yourself into a corner, because if you get the answer no, then of course the next question is, okay, well, if this doesn't work, then what is the best approach? And if the answer is yes, that the weight loss approach is the best, then you haven't really learned a whole lot of specific things about your audience. You just verified your opinion without testing a bunch of other things to try to open your mind and expand the possibilities for your audience. So, I could go on all day about this stuff, but it's very important to really categorize your approach and try to learn one thing at a time from your audience.
I think that alone, simplifying it and learning the one thing at a time, focusing on one thing, is so golden, because like you said, and I think if all of us really think about it, we've been there, where you might have been caught by one thing, and then you go on to read, or you're looking at everything else, and all of a sudden you feel overwhelmed. And when you feel overwhelmed, it also makes you feel stupid. Like there's too much stuff going on. It is never easy to make a decision when you have so much coming at you. It's so much simpler when you can answer one thing. And like you said, when they feel connected, it makes them feel, oh, I get this. And that, and we've even talked about this before on the podcast and in some of our draw shop materials is that there's an actual, hit of dopamine, and there's stuff that's happening in your brain that gets you super excited when you get something.
Yes.
Just understanding. Yep. And so when you can get people there, and I think also you're developing that trust. So once you've got them on that one simple thing, a problem that they can connect with and believe that you can fix it for them, then they're more open to seeing, oh, what else can this company or this product do for me?
Well, and the interesting thing that I found is that usually once people get that dopamine hit, they don't even need more information.
Yeah.
Once they see that and it resonates with them, they're ready right then to convert.
Right.
And so that's one of the other very important things, going back to that call to action, is if people have that call to action right in front of their face, it's easily accessible, then whenever they feel ready to convert, it might be after 5 seconds, it might be after 5 minutes. Whenever they're ready, they know exactly what to do. And so they don't have to go around searching, because nothing sucks worse than you see the product, you know this is relevant for you, you know it's what you want, and then you have to start digging around the site. You start to lose some of that initial rush of excitement.
Right. And I think conversions look different. For each site, it might just be an opt-in that you're measuring, or it might be a sale, or, whatever that is. So I think there's a lot of people, though, that are just like, I don't even know A/B testing. I've heard about this, but, we've just had our same site. This is what we do, or we've gone to our graphic designer. We've had him design it when we think things aren't working well. Where does somebody even begin with when they haven't done this before?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we've actually put together a starter guide for people how to get started. And so we can talk about that a little bit later. But,
awesome.
But typically what I recommend, number one, you need to get some kind of a tool for testing, because that's one of the areas that people get really hung up on is, oh, this is going to be so complicated and so, so technical and blah, blah, blah. The testing tools that are out there make it very easy to run basic tests. So there's a couple of tools that I recommend. One is Optimizely, and another one is VWO, Visual Website Optimizer.
Okay.
These two tools are very simple and straightforward. You install a single line of code onto your site, across your whole site, and it usually takes a developer like 5 minutes to put this code on the site. Once that code is on the site, then you can go inside of these testing tools and pull any page on your site into the tool. You just paste the URL in, and it will pull in all of the entire site. And you can just point and click on things on the site and change them. I mean, it's that simple. Now, to get a little bit more advanced, it does require a little bit of design work and a little bit of development work. But I typically recommend for companies to start with something small. So, for example, I talked about value propositions. One of the other 6 categories of tests that really impacts conversion rates is your content. So, how do you present your content? How much content do you have? One of the easiest tests to run is a content amount test. So I run these with almost all of our clients. It's, again, if you're using one of these testing tools, you pull in one of your pages and simply take your existing page and start removing content. So just, again, you ask yourself, how much content does our audience want? Nobody writes a ton of content without thinking people are going to read it, right? I mean,
right.
Everyone, but what I found is that most companies overindulge themselves. They're writing too much content that their audience is never going to read, assuming that their audience is just hanging on to every precious word they have to share with their audience.
Yeah.
And so if you just create a duplicate of one of your pages, again, it could be a landing page, it could be a pop-up offer that you want people to opt into. I actually just ran a test with Social Media Examiner. They have this pop-up that comes up to try to get people to subscribe to their blog. And literally all we tested is how much content should be on that pop-up. Should we have one line? Should we have 3 bullet points? Should we have a paragraph? And the interesting thing was, so I'm usually of the opinion that less is more, more simple is better. In this approach, actually, the more content they had on that pop-up, the better it converted. And that just blew me away. It blew my mind. And so those are very easy tests to run. Like I said, you can usually take, if you have a lot of content, you make one version, you remove 1 paragraph. Make another version of that page, remove 3 paragraphs. Try different amounts of content. And then the testing tool will just split traffic between all of your variations, and you just create a success metric that you're measuring. So maybe it's opt-ins, maybe it is form completions, maybe it's add to carts or button clicks, whatever it is. It's very easy to measure in those tools. And so I suggest setting up a basic test like that, letting it run, and then as you start to learn things like that, you may realize, wow, we can have a huge impact on our audience, but we don't really have the bandwidth to do this. So maybe I can get some help from someone else, or maybe you've got someone on your team that can add this to their current workload. But bottom line is, you need to start somewhere, and that's a great place to start.
So we've talked a lot about the website and that type of conversion. How about getting people to actually click on an ad that you're doing on any kind of digital ad, pay-per-click traffic, that type of stuff? How do you apply those same principles into those type ads so that you're getting that conversion and they're going to your website?
Yeah, so there's two big things. When you're running ads, there's two big things that's going to affect the conversion rate. Obviously, what the ad says and what it looks like is a big deal. And then the other thing is who you're showing those ads to. So that's almost just as important. In fact, that's probably more important than what the ad actually says, is who are you displaying this to? So one big mistake that a lot of companies make is they want to just reach everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone should know about this product. And they might even create their customer profiles. But usually what I've found is their customer profiles are either too broad or so specific that you're never going to be able to reach that one. There's one person in the entire United States that's ever going to apply to that segment. And so when they're too broad, these are the kind of customer profiles I will see from our clients is, I think our product really resonates with females between the ages of 20 and 60 who are shopping for clothes. Like, okay, that's like every female in America, basically, right?
Yeah.
And they may even get a little bit more sophisticated than that. Okay, our target audience is Hispanic females between the ages of 20 and 60, and you're still not really sophisticated here. And so it's really important that you figure out who are you talking to here, who is this going to resonate with, and then again, you're also going to be making a lot of assumptions in this process. You're going to be making assumptions about who you think is going to respond to your product. You might even have customer data. It might be like, we know exactly who's buying our product, and that's great. And just because you know who's buying your product doesn't necessarily mean that that's who you should be showing your ads to.
Right.
And so it's very important to put together what you think is going to be the right audience for you, and then test out different audiences. So on Facebook, they have an audience builder that is very sophisticated, and it's really interesting how you can, how granular you can target people. So it's important that you try out a few different audiences. You take your ideal audience, and then you create a slightly different audience, and you tweak it. And then maybe you target a wider audience, maybe a more targeted audience. So first, it's important you try out different audiences. And on AdWords, this is going to be like different types of keywords, right? So
right.
You might target really broad keywords like shoes. You'd never want to show up for the keyword shoes, but you might target something really broad like shoes, and then you might target something a little bit more granular like winter shoes, and then you might target something a little bit more granular than that, like waterproof winter shoes. You get a little bit more detailed than that. And so then what you do is you just start running traffic to all of your different audiences, start gathering data, and then as you start to get conversions, this is one of the most critical areas. It's important to look at what audiences are actually producing conversions. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we've seen at Disruptive when we start helping people optimize their ad campaigns is that usually about 3/4, like 75% of campaigns that companies are running have never produced a single conversion. And just the way that people are organizing their campaigns, they think that they're seeing a lot of conversions, but when you start drilling down into it, you realize a lot of the stuff you're displaying for, you're just getting a bunch of clicks but no conversions. So it's important to divert your ad spend to the stuff that's actually working. And then once you start to understand your audiences, then you can really start to dive into the copy, right? So, okay, we found the right audience. Now let's look at what we're saying to these people. Let's try, again, some different headlines, different descriptions. Let's try some different images, like whatever it is that you're putting in your ad. Again, go in with some of those business questions. What kind of headline is going to produce the most clicks? What kind of value proposition is going to produce the best clicks? What should we say about our products and our ads? Like, should we have sizes? Should we have price? Should we have discount percentages? Like, what is it that we need to say in there? So again, it's a very, very similar approach, but you need to make sure that you're focusing on the right things. And that's typically audience and actual ad copy.
Yeah. You've really got to know your audience, who you're speaking to, what's going to make them go, wait, what was that?
Yes, exactly.
So people, are looking more and more. Most people are looking at websites on their phones. I would imagine, I can be totally wrong, that's why I'm asking you, the expert here, that it's a totally different experience. I'm going to respond differently if I'm at my desk looking at my computer than I am if I'm sitting in the waiting room somewhere going through my phone looking at a website.
Yes.
So I know there's a difference between, obviously, how it's going to look, how it needs to be developed mobily as opposed to on a website. But I would also imagine that there's a different way to connect with your audience, because it feels like you just have more time usually when you're sitting at your desk. If you're actually looking at a website, you probably have a little bit more time. And sometimes on your mobile, you're in between things. We're on our phones all the time, and then the phone rings and whatever, you're distracted more. Can you talk about some of the differences there and some things that people should be thinking about?
Yeah, so you already nailed a few of them. So, in terms of what you should be thinking about, number one, it is very important to understand that your mobile users are very different from your desktop users. So a lot of assumptions that businesses make is it might be the same exact audience. You might even be targeting the exact same person, but people's state of mind, people's psychological state of mind when they are on a mobile device is very different than on a desktop device. So you might reach, let's just say that you're targeting me.
Yeah.
So you might reach Chris, and when I'm sitting down at my computer, I'm stationary because I'm on a computer screen. There's a lot more information that's visible to me, and I'm used to consuming a lot more information on a desktop. When I'm on my phone, there are so many different use cases that I could be in. You mentioned I might be sitting in a waiting room. I might be, heaven forbid, driving in my car.
Yeah.
I might be talking to my friends or waiting for a meeting to start. There's so many different places I could be on my mobile device. And you nailed it. People are typically a lot more distracted on their mobile devices. And so some of the key principles here are, it's really important on mobile to get to the point. Again, show people what they need to do and show it to them above the fold. So when they get there on their screen, tiny bit of information, call to action. And if people want more information, they can scroll down and get it. But I was just looking at one of our client sites the other day, and this is an e-commerce site. So they're selling a product, and you go to their page on mobile. You see a picture, scroll down, tons of information, scroll down, and then there's an add to cart button way down the page.
Yeah.
Right. This is an awful e-commerce shopping experience.
Right.
Nobody likes that, where you have to hunt for, again, that whole concept of, what if I look at the picture and I'm ready to buy it right now?
Yeah.
Because I see it, that's what I want, and then I have to scroll through a bunch of content. You're just giving your customers more opportunity to get distracted, to maybe even read some of your content, and then they start talking themselves out of it.
Yeah.
You want that call to action to be front and center. And one of the most important things for businesses to consider, especially businesses that, again, maybe they're service-based or, B2B or SaaS company, anything like that. Can your customers call you? If your customers can call you, or if you want them to call you at all, you might want to give them an entirely different call to action on mobile. Click to call on mobile is a big deal.
Yeah.
I found that mobile users are over 1,000 times more likely to call than desktop users are. And that doesn't surprise you, because it's so easy to call on mobile, or at least it should be easy, right? And so if I have questions, or again, if there's like a form process, something that I need to fill out or I need to sign up for something, it sucks to fill out forms on mobile. It's way easier to just talk to someone over the phone and give them all the information that they want.
Right.
And so we run these kinds of tests all the time with our clients where we actually replace their call to action on mobile with just a click to call button that says, call us now to sign up, or call now for a free quote, or call now, like whatever it is. And so, yeah, again, it's important to consider, what do our mobile users want to see? What call to action are they going to be most likely to engage with? And how can I present that to them in a very straightforward, easy to consume way, so that these easily distracted mobile users have a much lower chance of getting distracted.
Right. So we talked earlier about asking a question so that we can learn more about who our audience is. And I'm curious about, because people are distracted, even when they're on their website, right? Because they probably have their phone right next to them, or on their computer.
Yeah.
They're distracted. And, obviously the best type of conversion is when the user feels incredibly smart for the decision that they're making. And so you've given them something really simple that they're like, oh yes, that is what I need. And thank goodness for you. And I'm going to be the smart person that's going to opt in or buy right now, because that's exactly what I need. And it didn't take much time for them. It was very clear. It was simple. No room for misunderstanding what it is that you do or what you're offering. It's just like, bam, that's it.
Yep.
But what are some more tips or advice that you have to make sure that you're finding out the right things about your audience? Because I think, I've seen this a lot of times where people know their product or their service inside and out, and they know what they love about it. They know what their other team member loves about it. But sometimes they're actually, because they know so much about it, they're forgetting or overlooking the one very, very simple thing that actually hooks their audience. And it takes them, a while to find that. Do you have some advice to get people to really connect and go, wow, interestingly enough, this whole glucose thing, nobody really cared about regulating their blood levels. They just wanted the weight loss, or whatever it is. So what are some other tips that you have that people can really go, okay, let me find out about my audience so I know exactly what to speak to?
Yeah. So this is kind of why we've developed this 6 category approach that we use is, it may not have anything to do with the value proposition. Like, a lot of companies will think, oh, well, our clients love us because we're the lowest priced option. That's why they think that people love them. Or people love us because we have the best quality product out there. People love us because it's 100% made in the USA, whatever it is. One of the easiest ways to figure out what people actually care about is to go in and remove that thing from the page. I call this existence testing. So existence testing is a very, very easy way to hone in on what things on your site are actually making a difference for your audience. So here's an example. Here's another test that we ran with another client. This is also an e-commerce site. A lot of my examples are e-commerce just because it's very easy to tie a test to a specific dollar amount ROI. So we ran a test on a category page, but these tests will easily apply to any other kind of website. We ran a test on a category page. So they have a bunch of different products listed on their category page. And we wanted to know, what's the most important thing for them to know on the category page? Should we show them how many reviews each product has? Should we show them the price? Should we show them the discount percentage? Should we show them, do they even need to know the name of the product, or do they just need the image? And so we ran an existence test where we removed each one of these things. So we had one version where we removed the title of the product. We had one where we removed reviews, one where we removed price, one where we removed multiple things. And the interesting thing here was this was very surprising, considering on a category page you're looking at a lot of different products. Removing the price had a hugely positive impact on conversion rates and revenue. And this blew my mind because I had assumed this probably won't work, because if people can't see the price, then they're just going to go to the product page and then they're going to get sticker shock.
Right.
They'll be surprised by the price of the product. Turned out that wasn't the case. By removing that price, it gave them one less thing to focus on analyzing. And so they were able to just look at the pictures and find the product that they visually liked the best. And then when they actually got to the product page, they were already really excited about the product. And so the price mattered less to them. it was very, very interesting test. And so existence testing is fantastic to do, again, on like maybe a lead gen page, like a landing page or something like that. Similarly, if you think that people really care about that your product is made in the United States, remove that made in the USA badge from your page and see what happens.
Yeah.
If conversion rates go down, then that means you were right. People do actually really care about the fact that it's made in the United States. But if conversion rates go up, then that means you just found something that was distracting your audience.
Mm-hmm.
You found something that you thought really mattered, and it turns out it actually doesn't. So existence testing is really fun, and I use existence testing. I call it it's like my gateway drug. It's the best way to figure out where you should focus on. So again, let's say that you remove that made in the USA badge from your site and conversion rates go down. So okay, people really care about this. Now you can focus on a follow-up test and say, okay, we know that people care that it's made in the USA. What's the best way to tell them that? Should we have a little badge? Should we have a little line of text in green underneath the price that says 100% made in the USA? Should we have like a site-wide banner across the top of our site that says all products made in the USA? What's the best way to communicate that to your audience? And so now, it's very fun to go around, remove things from your site. Sometimes conversion rates are going to go way up, and you're going to go, cool, well, we just simplified our site, and those were the easiest tests we've ever run. Then once conversion rates go down and you find the things that people care about, then you can just really dial in and nail those things. And so that's a really fun process. And it's honestly, those existence tests are some of the easiest tests ever to set up. You can set up one in 5 to 10 minutes, and hugely, hugely insightful into your audience.
That's such a great idea. I love that. So for people that are maybe not wanting to do this themselves and they're wanting to, either they've got a team that they're going to share this with, or they want to work with a company like yours. Can you tell us about disruptive advertising and what it's like to be a client, to work with you?
Sure. Yeah. So I mentioned, we focus on two things at Disruptive. We focus on getting the right traffic, and we focus on converting that traffic. So, I am over the division of Disruptive that does site testing. And what we try to do is we try to make it very easy. So again, I came from a background being an in-house employee. And one of the challenges that I ran into when I was working in-house is resources. So it's very easy to spend your own time on stuff. It's really hard to get other people to do stuff for you.
Yeah.
And this is a challenge that entrepreneurs have as well. Entrepreneurs, any additional resources means more money,
yep.
Right? And so if you want to start testing, that means you're probably going to have to use your developers. You're going to have to, maybe find your designers for some tests. You're going to have someone that can actually create the tests and analyze the results and then know what to do next and project manage. And that's a lot of resources that you may not have, or you just may not want to deal with the hassle. A lot of our clients come to us because they're busy entrepreneurs, or they're busy, they're managing a ton of different marketing channels, and they just don't have time to manage another employee. And so they'll come to us because we try to make it very turnkey, meaning that, once we learn about our clients, once we learn what kinds of, people they're trying to attract, what their brand guidelines are, what the parameters are that we can work within, we handle everything for our clients. So we do all of the design work. We work with our clients to approve the designs. And then we actually do all the development work for our tests. We'll run the tests. And then basically we help save our clients a lot of money in the long run, because we don't actually have our clients make any permanent changes to their site until we found something that increases conversion rates. So that helps again in the long run, because like I mentioned earlier, we had a marketing department that spent a whole year developing this new site. And, most of the changes, if not all of the changes, didn't have any impact or had a negative impact on user experience. So we could have saved a lot of time by just trying some of these things out and going, nope, that doesn't work. Let's not spend the next year, really fleshing this idea out.
Right.
And so, yeah, so that's, basically it's a fun process. One of the things that I like to do with our clients as we run tests, because sometimes it's really hard to let go of your opinions,
yeah.
Especially when you work in a company where there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions. And sometimes employees feel a lot of value from people taking their opinion. So one of the things that we try to do is we'll get all the people, in a meeting that have an opinion on something. We'll have everyone weigh in, and then we'll test out different approaches. We'll have everybody guess which version is going to win. And, and so this is fun. Some of our clients will bet money on it. I think my version is going to win. I'll put $20 on it, whatever. And we run the test and we come back and say, okay, let's see who was right, who was wrong. And it's not necessarily about who's wrong and who's right, but it's really about learning and going, whoa, that's interesting. Every time I see test results, even if I guessed what the winner was, when I see how much it won by, and when I see how much the other versions lost by, or maybe all of the versions were winners, then I go, whoa, okay, interesting. I wonder why. And as soon as you start asking those questions, I wonder why that won, then you're hooked and you have to run another test.
Yeah.
Right. And especially, for entrepreneurs, as soon as you see those revenue numbers start to go up, then it's like, oh, okay, we've really found something that not only is it helping me learn about my audience, but it's also increasing revenue. So those are the kinds of things that we do with our clients. Like I mentioned, I'm over the site testing portion, so that's my primary focus. And then we've got another division of the company that handles ad optimization and managing primarily AdWords and Facebook advertising.
Awesome. And if anyone wants to get more information on what they do, even get a proposal, you can go to disruptiveadvertising.com, and we'll have a link to that as well in our show notes and blog post. You had mentioned earlier a download that we could offer our listeners.
Yes. Yeah. So we've put together a lot of the things we've talked about today. We put into an A/B testing starter guide. So we've got, our 6-category approach in there. Some of the first few tests that we would recommend running on any site. We've got links to all the different tools that people can use, and a bunch of other good stuff. And so if people want to get that, it's at disruptiveadvertising.com/guide.
Awesome.
And that's just a free download. There's a little box that people can check if they are interested in talking with us. If you just want the guide, then don't check that box and we won't harass you.
Awesome. This has been so much valuable information. Thank you so much, Chris. This is awesome. And I think even with just a few of the pieces that you've talked about, people can learn so much about what's working, what's not working on their sites, even with those 2 links that you gave us earlier. And we'll make sure we have those available to the listeners as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on the show. It was my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to today's Get Genius. You can learn more about The Draw Shop at www.thedrawshop.com, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Your home for kick-butt custom whiteboard marketing videos. Your ideas come to life. Thanks for listening. Please share, comment, and make any suggestions for future Genius guests.